Hello, in this video I'm going to take you through what you need to know about learning vocabulary on your technical English course. That could be for your English for engineering or your English for business. I'm going to take you through the most important points, what I've called the keys to learning vocabulary. It shouldn't take more than about 5 minutes. So, make a permanent record. What I would like you to do is to make an entry for every word that you learn on the course. So, for example, you learn a word like outsource. I want you to write down all of the aspects of that particular word. I'm going to show you what I mean with that example now. Here's the word outsourcing. So you should write down the meaning. You can see that there. You should write down the translation. And then an example. Here's my example. The college outsources the cleaning services to another company. Please note that I've written my own example. You could copy paste, but certainly if you want to learn the words effectively, your own examples are much better. And of course, when I come to grade your notebook, I'll be looking for your own examples as well. The next is what we call collocation. I'll explain a little bit about that. If I say a word like desert, I'm here in Medina Zayed in the UAE Western region, so when I look out of my window, I see the desert. When I say the word desert, what other words do you think of? Do you think of a word like wet, blue, happy? Maybe not. Happy desert, blue desert, wet desert. These sound strange. Now, what about if I said dry or hot or foreboding? Now, those are words which you often associate with deserts. Hot desert, dry desert, foreboding desert. So we can say a word like dry and a word like desert collocate with each other. That means they go together. So when you have a word like outsourcing, you might want to write down the words that you typically find outsourcing with. So we can say outsourcing services, outsourcing solutions, or outsourcing contracts. And you include those in your vocabulary entry. Next is the part of speech. That's easy. Just means what's the verb form of outsourcing? What's the noun form? What's the adjective? So the verb is outsource. You can represent that with a V. The noun is outsourcing, and the adjective is outsourced, which you can represent with ADJ, for example. You might also find other parts of speech, although with technical vocabulary, these are the most likely three that you'll find. Then we have pronunciation. There are lots of ways to write pronunciation. I've used the way that we've got in this dictionary here, dictionary.reference.com. If you want to use an official phonemic transcription, that's fine as well. You choose whichever way. You write down the pronunciation which helps you say the word. Finally, a visual representation. I just went into Google, wrote down outsourcing and got this image. It's a nice image because it gives me the opposite of outsourcing, which is in-house solution. And that helps me to remember the word, and it helps me to give the word more meaning, more context. I know where the word could be used. So that's my permanent record. Now, just a few points about learning the vocabulary on the course. As you know, I'm asking you to learn relatively few words every week, and you can see my blog for those details. But what I want you to do is learn each word absolutely in its fullest sense. So, depth. I want you to try and learn all of the aspects of the word that I just mentioned. Things like collocation, parts of speech, how is it used. I want you to think about all meanings of the word. So, outsourcing. Where might you see that word? What contexts? You should be able to understand it, and you should be able to use it in your own context and in other contexts as well. You don't need to know a lot of words, very little. You need to know a reasonable amount of words, but very well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. So one word can be used in 5 or 6 different ways. That's depth, not breadth. I want you to think of words that go together. So in the collocation part of your vocabulary entry, you said outsource contract, for example. You can also think about, well, what words do outsource go with in a larger sense? So when you're talking about outsourcing, you're often talking about jobs. So you might outsource cleaning services. So perhaps you could put outsource together with services. What you might want to do is make periodic word clouds like this one. Perhaps once a month you could simply go through your words, see which words go together in a word cloud, words that are associated, and that will help you to remember and use the words correctly. If you want to know how to use a word cloud, just go to Google and put make a word cloud. Finally, you must use the words in your own context. So when you look at my blog, you'll see I've given you 2 types of instruction. The first instruction is to make your vocabulary notebook entry in the way that I've just described. And then for every 5 words that you use even, I'd like you to put them into a context. I'd like you to write a paragraph using those words, and I'll grade the paragraph and the way you've used the words within the paragraph. Look at this example here. We've got outsources is my first word. Contractors. We've got services, providers, bidding, and transparency. Those are my words. I've included them all in a paragraph. It's been proven time and again, if we can use vocabulary in our own context, then that means we've learned the words. And that's what we want from this course. We want you to be able to learn words which are relevant for your major, for business or engineering, for example, and to be able to use those words in a meaningful way throughout your college career. Finally, don't forget it's essential that you recycle. So whether you're working on my blog or whether you're working for another teacher, please make sure you try and use the words as often as you can. Okay, don't forget you will be graded on the quality of your word entries, please see my blog for more details. And if you have any questions, please ask me in class. That's all for now.